and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lola and today I'm going to be taking you through a beginner's glutes routine. Please follow me here and here if you would like to see more, and don't forget to comment and subscribe. Let's get into it.
So the first thing that I do before any workout of any description is just some mobility exercises to warm up my hips. So here I'm circling my leg round and then I'll take it back in the opposite direction. This is just to help protect against any injury. I also recommend going on the treadmill as well for at least 10 minutes just before you start working out, because it's important to get those ligaments nice and warm.
So what I'm doing now before getting into the glutes workout is just doing a bit of mobility warm-up. So it's really important to get all of your muscles lubricated and moving before you get started. It just helps prevent against injury.
Here's me struggling for balance. So here I am doing some glute activation exercises. I find that these are helpful again, so it's still mobility based and I'm just really squeezing through the glute, which is the target muscle that we are hitting today.
First exercise I'm going to do is a seated hamstring curl. So I know this isn't directly glute work, but I just think it's helpful to activate through your hamstring and just warm up the leg. This is a hamstring curl. Most gyms have got one, so you shouldn't struggle with finding a machine that does this. Just make sure that when you come into it, that your back is nice and flat against it. Most of them adjust, and to also adjust this bit as well. You want it to be nice and close to your knees, but not on the actual knee joint. Right, so let's work this out. Try that first, just to see how that is.
So with these hamstring exercises, I'm making sure to really squeeze and coming all the way down to the bottom, holding for just a second and then coming back up to make sure that I'm getting a good contraction. This is also how you can gauge if the weight is too heavy or too light. If you can't get it all the way down, then it means you need to lower the weight.
With these, it's really important that you're going full range of motion, so nice and slow is key. You don't want to go too heavy on anything. Really going all the way to the bottom, squeeze, and then come all the way up, because then you're having nice, efficient reps. I'm just going to adjust the seat on here. Okay, next exercise. Not every gym has got one of these. This is a hack squat, but specifically it's a mini hack squat. I like this because you can push your back up against these pads and it just keeps you nice and stable. If you haven't got a hack squat, you're going to want to do a squat variation, and I'm going to show you the placement of your feet. It will be the same as whether you've got a dumbbell in your hands or a barbell. Exactly the same principle. really focusing through pushing the hamstrings and the glute and trying to minimize quad, because it's this that we're trying to focus on.
As with any exercise, squat variations do take a little bit of trial and error just to figure out on what foot placement feels comfortable for you. We're all different, so just have a little play with it and have a look at what feels most comfortable.
So, a little bit of a note about foot placement. If you are lower down, so about here, and closer together, that is going to target more of your quad. If you want to focus more of your glute, then you want a higher foot positioning and to slightly turn the toes out. Everyone is different, so you're probably going to have to tinker around a little bit with it, and then you will eventually find the position for you. When you're going down as well, you really want to focus about keeping in alignment and actively pushing through the back of your hamstrings and into the glutes to ensure that this is where you're pushing from and not here.
Breathing is also really important when you do your exercises. So as a general rule of thumb, when you're on the way down, you should be taking a deep inhale through your nose. And then as you come up, really try and blow that air out. It's going to help you with your lifting. Try not to hold your breath, because I have a bad habit of doing this.
Okay, next exercise that we're going to do for the glutes is a Smith machine lunge. A Smith machine is really good, especially if you're new to the gym, because it's nice and weighted, so you can't really move in and out. Sometimes when you're using a barbell, it can feel a little bit scary, especially if you're new to the gym, whereas this is nice and in alignment, and you've also got safety bits at the bottom, so I'll just show you. These little things will save your life. You can just basically push them up and slot them in. So for example, for me, if I was a bit scared of bottoming them out and I had no one that I was training with, you can put them to here and then you can just flick the bar off and you'll be safe. Okay.
Again, same method applies with these lunges. So you'll notice that I'm not coming all the way upright. That's because it will take the tension off my glute, which is what we don't want. It's almost like you're coming up 3/4 of the way and then coming back down. You will feel a massive difference with your lifts if you can do this. It's also okay to make funny faces when you're training hard.
So again, just another little note about foot positioning, because that really does make all the difference when you're training your legs, depending on what muscle group you're trying to isolate. For these particular ones, I'm doing them quite close, so the position of my legs are here, and then I'm slightly tilting forward through my upper body. As I come down, it's like I'm sitting down into a chair, I'm squeezing at the bottom, and then I'm coming all the way up. If you're slightly too far forward and you're upright, then you're going to feel it more in your quad. Both are valid movements, it just depends on where you're trying to target.
With these unilateral exercises as well, especially if you're a beginner, it's okay to take a rest between each leg.
Okay, next exercise, you can't really leave it out if you're doing a glute day. Love it or hate it, it is a hip thrust. This specifically is on a glute drive. So this is a machine that is basically set up for the purpose of doing a hip thrust. Some gyms have got them, some haven't, so just check to see if you have got one. If you haven't got one of these, you can do it with a barbell. So you just take the barbell off the machine, put it down, put a few weights on it. You might have to put a few blocks on, put your back on a bench and then roll it up your body to get into position. The setup will look similar to this, except you've just got a bar rather than a seat belt. These are great. Again, it's going to depend a little bit on tinkering with your position to find the right place for you. I feel like it's slightly better for me when I've got my feet slightly further out and then my toes angled out, because then I can engage through the glute. You want to avoid as much as possible pushing through your quad, because it is this that we are trying to isolate. Okay, little form tip before I start on here. You really want to squeeze at the top. If you're loading this all the way up and you're not getting all the way to the top with your glutes, there's no point in you doing the exercise really. Going all the way to the top, squeeze your ass cheeks as if you've got like, I don't know, £20 note between them and you're broke. Squeeze it really hard and then drop the drop. So next exercise is this machine. It does kind of look like you're about to go skiing on it, but this is your cable kickback section of your workout towards the end. I find it very unlikely that your gym has got one of these, because I think they're quite rare pieces of kit. If you haven't got one, you can just get a, what do they call them? Like a little wrap for your ankle. You tie it around your ankle onto one of the cable machines, and then you'll often see women doing this in the gym. It's exactly the same thing, except I'm just using a machine.
As I mentioned before, please do not let this piece of kit threaten you if you haven't got one in your gym. A cable kickback machine will suffice. But again, the emphasis is on purposeful contraction. If you're throwing the weight around, then it means it's probably not going to do much and you're not going to get much growth there.
Just a little form tip with these, so regardless of whether you're on one of these or on a cable kickback or whatever, you really want to make sure that you're squeezing your glute at the top of the movement. If you're just swinging your leg around, it's not going to do anything. Really control it. You'll notice that I'm moving quite slow when I do this. It's on purpose, especially because it's towards the end of the workout. So you're really trying to get that isolation movement in. All right, last exercise that I'm going to be finishing off with is not a glutes exercise. It's a calf exercise, just because I'm personally trying to build my nut. I personally prefer the aesthetic when you've got in proportion leg muscles, and calves are highly neglected muscle groups. So I always like to put them in at the end just to sort of keep them topped up. Again, full range of motion, you don't have to go super heavy, really controlling it throughout the set. As you come in, you'll notice that I'm starting in the stretched position here. I'm engaging, stretching through the calf, and then coming all the way up. I'm squeezing through that contraction, and then lowering down. What I'm not doing is this. This is like, I don't know what this is. it's something, but I'm really squeezing at the top, down. So just a few top tips that I wanted to go over before I leave you all. There is no point in doing these exercises if you're not following this. So nutrition is the most important part of your training, really. In particular, getting enough protein in. Most people don't eat enough protein, so getting all your lean protein, meat sources in and things like that. And also carbs. Carbs are not the enemy. Carbs are what fuel your workout. So ideally, you do want carbs before coming in. The other thing is as well, especially when you're training legs, is your footwear. Personally, I don't endorse Crocs. I don't really like seeing people in a Croc. I don't think it's very safe or aesthetic, but flat shoes tend to be all right. If you've got flat feet like me, sometimes these can be a bit aggravating, and in that respect, I'd advise that you get like a little bit of a lifting shoe where it's got like a little bit of an arch in it or an insole that can help support your foot, just to make sure that you're nice and safe and secure whilst you're lifting. The other thing is as well, when you're coming in and training, it doesn't matter whether you're beginner or experienced, you want to train with sufficient intensity. That is going to be completely relative to you. So you shouldn't be breezing through a workout as if it's nothing. You should be sweating, and it should feel difficult. If it's not difficult, increase the reps or increase the weight, but just make sure that your form doesn't suffer as a result. Time under tension is also something else that's really important. So you'll have noticed that throughout my movements, I'm not going really fast. I'm moving nice and slow with intention and thinking about contracting the muscles that I want to grow, essentially. I'm trying to think if there is, what else is there? Time under tension, progressive overload, yes. Don't keep that in. The other thing that I wanted to go over was progressive overload. Now, everyone has got a different opinion on what progressive overload looks like, but it's just making sure that you're coming in and challenging yourself. Because if you want a muscle to grow, you have to tear the muscle fibers to get it to expand. The way that you do that is through increasing through the weight, or if that's not possible, you can do a higher rep range. For example, I like to do a lot of 15 reps because it just keeps my form intact. And if you're training on your own as well, you're probably not going to want to be piling on loads of weight. It might feel a bit unsafe for you. So just increase the rep range, and that's how you're getting your progressive overload in. In addition to progressive overload, you want to make sure that you're training close to failure. So your last couple of reps should feel difficult, as if you're trying to squeeze them out. Those are the reps really where you're going to see most of your growth. Thank you for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it and found that the content was useful. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. You can find my socials here and here. Bye.